There are moments in history when the impossible becomes inevitable, when warnings whispered decades ago suddenly roar to life in front of our eyes. And right now, in this very moment, you might be living through one of those moments without even realizing it. What if I told you that a man who died over 70 years ago saw exactly what is happening in America today? What if his visions, dismissed as fantasy by skeptics, are unfolding right now? Line by line, event by event, like a script written long before any of us were born. His name was Edgar Cayce, and what he saw about this time, about this nation, about the man who would rise to power in these final days, is something that will shake you to your core. Because it's not just prophecy. It's not just prediction, it's happening, right now. And once you hear what he said, you will never look at the news the same way again. Let me take you back to a time when the world was different. When a simple man from Kentucky, with no formal education, became known as the most documented psychic in modern history. Edgar Cayce was not a showman. He was not a performer. He was a photographer, a Sunday school teacher, a man who stumbled into a gift he never asked for. And that gift, that terrifying, overwhelming gift, was the ability to see beyond the veil of time. When Cayce entered his trance state, he would lie down, close his eyes, and speak. But it was not Edgar Cayce speaking. It was something else, something deeper, something that knew things no human should know. He would diagnose illnesses in people he had never met, prescribe treatments that doctors couldn't explain, and predict events that seemed impossible. And then, in those quiet moments, he would see the future. Not vague hints, not cryptic riddles. He saw cities, nations, leaders, and catastrophes. He saw wars, earthquakes, upheaval. He saw America torn apart from within. And he saw a man who would come in the time of great division. A man who would speak boldly, who would be loved by millions and despised by millions more. A man who would stand at the center of a storm so fierce that the very fabric of the nation would be tested. And here is where it gets chilling. Because when you read what Cayce said about this time, about this leader, about the chaos that would surround him, you cannot help but see the face of Donald Trump. Now, before you dismiss this, before you say it's coincidence or interpretation, listen to what Cayce actually said. Listen to the timeline. Listen to the details. And then ask yourself, how could a man in the 1930s and 40s know what we are living through right now? Cayce spoke of a time when America would be divided like never before, when brother would turn against brother, when neighbor would distrust neighbor, when the very idea of truth would be shattered into 1,000 pieces. He said there would be a leader who would rise during this division, a leader who would not unite but polarize, who would be seen as a savior by some and a destroyer by others. Does this sound familiar? Does this not describe the exact political landscape of the past decade? But it goes deeper. Cayce spoke of earth changes, massive, catastrophic shifts in the planet itself. He said that when these changes began, they would be a sign that humanity had reached a tipping point. He predicted earthquakes in places that had never seen them, floods that would reshape coastlines, fires that would consume entire regions, and he said these would not be random. They would be connected to the moral and spiritual state of the nation. When the people lost their way, the earth itself would respond. Look around you. Look at the wildfires that have ravaged California year after year, turning the sky orange, destroying entire towns. Look at the hurricanes that have grown more powerful, more frequent, more devastating. Look at the earthquakes, the floods, the droughts. Scientists call it climate change. But what if it's something more? What if the earth is speaking, just as Cayce said it would? And then there is the economy. Cayce warned of a time when the financial systems of the world would collapse, when the markets would swing wildly, when people would lose faith in money itself. He said there would be a period of great uncertainty, where the old systems would crumble and new ones would struggle to be born. And during this time, a leader would emerge who claimed to have the answers. A businessman, Cayce said, a man who understood money, who spoke the language of wealth, who promised to restore prosperity. But Cayce also warned that this leader would be a double-edged sword, that his methods would work for some, but would deepen the divide for others. When Donald Trump descended that golden escalator in 2015 and announced he was running for president, the world laughed. A reality TV star, a real estate mogul with no political experience. It was absurd, but Cayce had seen this. He had seen a man of wealth, a man of business, a man who would shake the foundations of the political establishment. And Trump did exactly that. He won an election that every expert said he would lose, He became president against all odds, and from the moment he took office, the nation was never the same. But here is where it gets truly eerie. Cayce did not just predict a leader, he predicted the reaction to that leader. He said there would be forces, powerful forces, that would rise up to oppose him, that there would be investigations, accusations, attempts to remove him from power. He said the media would turn against him, that there would be those in his own government who would work to undermine him. And he said that despite all of this, the leader would endure. He would survive attacks that would destroy any other man. He would be impeached, but not removed. He would be vilified, but not defeated. Does this not describe the Trump presidency in chilling detail? To impeachments, endless investigations, the Russia probe, the Ukraine scandal, the media onslaught, day after day, night after night. And yet, he remained, he survived, and now, years later, he is back, running again, rising again, just as Cayce said he would. But there is something darker in Cayce's visions, something that has not yet fully come to pass, but seems to be building, gathering, like a storm on the horizon. Cayce spoke of a time when America would face an internal conflict so severe that it would threaten to tear the nation apart. He used the word rebellion. He spoke of states refusing to follow federal authority, of militias rising, of violence in the streets. He said this would happen when the people lost faith in their leaders, when they felt unheard, when they believed the system was rigged against them. And he said it would be sparked by a contested election. Think about that. A contested election. Now think about January 6, 2021. The storming of the Capitol, the violence, the chaos, the images of people breaking through windows, fighting with police, invading the halls of Congress. And think about the rhetoric that led to it. The claims of a stolen election, the refusal to accept the results, the anger that boiled over into action. Was that the beginning of what Cayce saw? Or is there more to come? Because Cayce also said that this internal conflict would escalate, that it would not end with a single event, but would continue, simmering, until a breaking point was reached. And that breaking point, he said, would come when the leader at the center of it all returned to power, or when he was prevented from returning. Either way, Cayce saw violence. He saw chaos. He saw blood. And here we are, in 2025, watching Trump campaign once again, watching the nation divide even further, watching the tensions rise. The question is not whether Cayce was right. The question is how much more of his vision is about to unfold. But let's go even deeper, because Cayce did not just see political turmoil, he saw spiritual warfare. He said that the struggles of this time were not merely about politics or economics, they were about the soul of humanity. He said that dark forces, entities beyond our understanding, were at work, manipulating events, feeding on fear and anger. And he said that these forces had chosen America as their battlefield because America represented something unique in human history, a grand experiment in freedom, in democracy, in the idea that all people are created equal. And if America fell, if that experiment failed, the darkness would spread. Cayce believed that every major event, every leader, every crisis, was part of a larger cosmic struggle between light and darkness. And he said that the time we are living in now, this very moment, was one of the most critical points in that struggle. He said that humanity had a choice. We could awaken, we could remember our higher purpose, our connection to the divine, our responsibility to each other, or we could descend into chaos, into tribalism, into violence and despair. And the leader at the center of this time, Cayce said he would be a test, a mirror, a reflection of where humanity truly stood. If people followed him out of fear, out of anger, out of a desire for power and dominance, then the darkness would win. But if people saw through the illusion, if they chose love over hate, unity over division, then there was still hope. So what does that mean for Trump? Is he the villain in this story? Or is he simply a player in a much larger game? Cayce would say that Trump himself is not the point. The point is how we respond to him. The point is what he reveals about us. Now let's talk about because this is where it gets truly unsettling. Cayce gave specific dates for some of his predictions. He said that the period from 1998 to 2025 would be a time of great upheaval, a time when the old world would die and a new one would struggle to be born. And he said that by the end of this period, the changes would be irreversible. The world as we knew it would be gone. Well, here we are, 2025, the end of the timeline, and what have we seen? The rise of technology that is reshaping human consciousness, social media that has amplified division to unprecedented levels, artificial intelligence that is beginning to replace human thought, and a global pandemic that killed millions, locked down nations, and changed the way we live forever. Cayce also predicted that around this time, there would be discoveries, ancient knowledge would be revealed, secrets that had been hidden for thousands of years would come to light, and these discoveries would challenge everything we thought we knew about history, about humanity, about our place in the universe. Are we not seeing this already? The UFO disclosures, the government admitting that there are objects in our skies that we cannot explain, the growing acceptance that we are not alone, the archaeological finds that push back the timeline of human civilization, the genetic research that shows we are far more complex, far more mysterious than we ever imagined. Cayce said all of this would happen, and he said it would happen in the time of the leader, in the time of great division, in the time when America was being tested. But here is the most chilling part. Cayce saw something beyond Trump. He saw what comes next. He said that after the leader, after the chaos, there would be a reckoning, a moment when the truth could no longer be hidden, when the systems of control, the lies, the manipulation would all be exposed. And in that moment, humanity would have to decide, would we rebuild on the old foundations of greed and power, or would we choose a new path? Cayce believed that this reckoning would come around 2028. He said that by that year, the changes would be undeniable, that the earth itself would be different, that nations would have fallen and new alliances would have risen, and that the leader, whoever was in power at that time, would face the greatest test of all. Now, think about the timing. Trump, if he were to win in 2024, would be in office until 2028, the exact year Cayce pointed to. Is that a coincidence, or is there something deeper at work here? Let's talk about the symbols, because Cayce often spoke in symbols, and those symbols are appearing everywhere in our world right now. He spoke of an eagle wounded, but not dead. The eagle, of course, is the symbol of America, and Cayce said that this eagle would be attacked from within and without, that it would be brought low, that many would think it was finished. But he also said that at the last moment, the eagle would rise again, stronger, different, transformed. Is that what we are witnessing? The wounding of America, the attacks from within, the division, the distrust, the violence. And if so, are we approaching the moment of rising, or are we still in the darkest part of the vision? Cayce also spoke of a man who would be both king and fool, a man who would speak truth but also lies, who would inspire hope but also fear, who would be loved and hated in equal measure. And he said this man would not understand his own role. He would think he was in control, but he would be an instrument of forces far greater than himself. When you look at Trump through this lens, it's almost haunting. His supporters see him as a warrior, a champion, a man who stands against the corrupt establishment. His detractors see him as a dangerous demagogue, a narcissist, a threat to democracy itself. And Trump himself, he seems utterly convinced of his own greatness, his own destiny. But what if Cayce was right? What if Trump is not the author of this story, but a character in a much larger narrative? And what about the rest of us? What is our role? Cayce said that every person alive during this time had chosen to be here, that our souls had selected this moment, this incarnation, because we wanted to be part of the great transformation. He said we all had gifts, missions, purposes that would be revealed in the chaos. And he said that the greatest tragedy would be if we sleepwalked through this time, if we let fear paralyze us, if we became passive observers instead of active participants. So the question is, are you awake? Are you paying attention? Are you feeling the weight of this moment, the significance of what is unfolding? Or are you numb, distracted, scrolling through your phone while the world shifts beneath your feet? Cayce warned that many would refuse to see, that they would cling to the old ways, the old beliefs, even as everything around them crumbled. He said this refusal would be the source of great suffering, because change, he said, is inevitable. The only question is whether we resist it or flow with it. Let's talk about the global dimension of this, because Cayce did not just see America in isolation. He saw the whole world in turmoil. He predicted that Russia would play a major role in the events to come. He said Russia would be transformed, that it would become a spiritual force, a hope for the world. And he said that the relationship between America and Russia would be crucial, that these two powers, once enemies, would have to find a way to work together, or the world would face catastrophe. Now, under Trump, there was a strange fascination with Russia, with Putin, the investigations, the allegations, the endless speculation about collusion. But beyond the scandal, there was something else. A sense that Trump saw Russia differently than other American leaders. That he wanted a relationship, an alliance, even. Was this instinct? Or was it something deeper? Something written in the stars, as Cayce might say. And what about China? Cayce spoke of the East rising, of ancient civilizations reclaiming their power. He said that the balance of the world would shift, that the dominance of the West would end, and a new order would emerge. And he said this shift would be painful, resisted, fought against, but ultimately inevitable. Look at the past decade, the trade war between America and China, the competition over technology, over influence, over the very future of the planet. And look at Trump's role in that. The tariffs, the rhetoric, the attempt to hold back the tide. Was he fighting against Cayce's prophecy, or fulfilling it? Now, let's address something that many people wonder about. Was Cayce always right? Did every prediction come true? The answer is no. Some of his predictions did not happen, or at least, they have not happened yet. He predicted that California would fall into the ocean, that parts of the East Coast would be submerged, that new lands would rise in the Atlantic. These things have not occurred. So, does that mean he was wrong? Does that mean we should dismiss everything he said? Cayce himself addressed this. He said that the future is not fixed. That prophecy is not about certainty, but about possibility. He said that his visions showed the most likely outcome based on the current path of humanity. But he also said that people have free will, that we can change the future by changing ourselves. That collective consciousness can alter the course of events. So perhaps the predictions that did not come true were averted. Perhaps humanity made different choices, took a different path. Or perhaps they are simply delayed. Perhaps they are still coming, and we are not yet at the point in the timeline where they manifest. But here is what we cannot deny. So many of Cayce's predictions have come true. The rise of technology, the shift in global power, the earth changes, the political upheaval, the spiritual awakening, and the leader, the controversial, polarizing, impossible to ignore leader who stands at the center of it all. Let's talk about what comes next, because if Cayce's timeline is correct, if we are truly in the final phase of this great transformation, then the next few years will be unlike anything humanity has ever experienced. He said that between 2025 and 2030, the world would go through a death and rebirth, that old systems would collapse completely, that there would be moments of great darkness, but also moments of profound revelation. He said that those who were prepared, who had done the inner work, who had learned to trust their intuition and their connection to the divine, would navigate this time with grace. But those who were unprepared would struggle. They would be lost in fear, confusion, desperation. And he said there would be signs, markers along the way that would tell us where we are in the process. He said to watch the poles, both the magnetic poles of the earth and the political poles of society. He said when the poles shift, when they become unstable, that is the signal that the great change is near. And what are scientists telling us right now? That the magnetic poles of the earth are moving faster than they have in centuries, that the magnetic field is weakening, that we may be approaching a pole reversal, an event that has happened before in Earth's history, but not in the age of modern civilization. And politically, the poles have never been more extreme. The left and the right have never been further apart. The center has collapsed. Polarization is the defining characteristic of our time. Cayce said, this is not an accident, that the external reflects the internal, that the chaos in the world mirrors the chaos in the human soul, and that the only way to survive the external storm is to find peace within. So what does that mean practically? It means that the answers are not out there. They are not in politics, not in technology, not in any external savior. The answers are inside you. Cayce believed that every human being has a direct connection to the divine, that we do not need intermediaries, institutions, or authorities to tell us what is true. We have the truth within us. We just have to quiet the noise, still the fear, and listen. And this brings us back to Trump, because in a strange way, Trump is the perfect test of this principle. He is the ultimate distraction, the ultimate polarizer. He forces everyone to have an opinion, to take a side, to get caught up in the drama, and in doing so, he pulls us away from ourselves. He keeps us focused on the external, on the fight, on the spectacle, and maybe that is his real purpose. Not to save or to destroy, but to distract, to keep us from doing the inner work that is actually required. Cayce would say, stop looking at Trump, stop obsessing over the news, over the scandals, over the predictions. Start looking at yourself. Start asking, what am I afraid of? What am I angry about? What am I avoiding? Because those questions, those answers, will tell you everything you need to know about what is coming. But here is the thing. Even if you do the inner work, even if you find peace and clarity, you are still living in this world. You still have to navigate the chaos. And Cayce gave practical advice for that too. He said to prepare, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. He said to build community, to know your neighbors, to create networks of support. He said that when the systems fail, and he believed they would, the people who survive and thrive would be those who can rely on each other. He also said to store food and water, to learn skills, to become not because you are going to live in a bunker, but because you are going to need to adapt to a world that does not function the way it used to. And he said to stay informed, but not consumed, to know what is happening, but not to let it control you, to be in the world, but not of it. Now, let's go to the end game, the final piece of Cayce's vision. He said that after the chaos, after the collapse, after the reckoning, there would be a golden age, a time of peace, prosperity, and spiritual enlightenment. He said that humanity would finally understand its true nature, that we would remember we are not separate, not isolated, not alone, that we are all connected, all part of one consciousness, one divine source. He said that, in this golden age, there would be no more war, no more hunger, no more disease, that we would live in harmony with the earth and with each other, that technology would serve humanity, not enslave it, and that the leaders of this new world would be wise, compassionate, enlightened beings who had transcended ego and fear. It sounds like a dream, like a fantasy, but Cayce insisted it was not. He said this future is not only possible, it is our destiny, but we have to choose it. We have to earn it. We have to go through the fire to get there. And Trump, where does he fit into the golden age? Cayce would say he does not. Trump is part of the old world, part of the chaos, the division, the breaking down. He is not the builder of the new world. He is the destroyer of the old one. And that, in a strange way, is necessary, because you cannot build something new on a rotten foundation. You have to tear it down first. So maybe Trump is not the villain, and he is not the hero. He is the wrecking ball. And whether you love him or hate him, he is doing exactly what he is supposed to do. He is exposing the cracks, the corruption, the lies. He is forcing us to confront what we have become. And in doing so, he is clearing the way for something new. But that something new will not come from him. It will come from us, from the choices we make, from the consciousness we cultivate, from the love we choose over fear. And here is the final warning. Cayce said that if humanity fails this test, if we choose violence, division, and domination, then the golden age will not come. Instead, we will enter a dark age, a time of suffering that could last for centuries. He said the choice is ours. The future is in our hands. So as you watch the news, as you see Trump rise again, as you feel the tension building, ask yourself, what am I choosing? Am I feeding the fear? Am I contributing to the division? Or am I holding space for something better? Am I doing the work? Am I being the light? Because that is what this moment demands. Not opinions, not arguments, not sides, but light, consciousness, love. Edgar Cayce saw this time. He saw the leader. He saw the chaos. He saw the choice. And he left us a message, a warning, a promise. He said, you are here for a reason. You chose this moment. You have everything you need. Do not be afraid. Do not be deceived. Remember who you are, and what you do next will determine everything. The prophecy is unfolding. The timeline is here. The moment is now. Edgar Cayce spoke, and the world he saw is the world we are living in. The only question left is, what will you do about it? Will you rise, or will you fall? Will you awaken, or will you sleep through the most important moment in human history? The choice, as it has always been, is yours, but the time to choose is running out. The storm is here. The leader is here. The reckoning is here. And Edgar Cayce, from beyond the grave, is watching, waiting, to see if we finally understand, to see if we finally remember, to see if we finally become who we were always meant to be. This is not just a story. This is not just prophecy. This is your life. This is your world. This is your moment. And it all starts